Hello Juve. This week I'm going to be sharing with you a couple of game clips, but most of the commentary is going to just be on this tactical board. Today we're going to be going over something that I think we can spend the next week improving on, which is continuing our build-up strategies. So let's go over into goal kick build-ups just to start, because we had a lot of these over the weekend. So I'll go over that in this tactical board, and you guys can go and look at the videos for yourselves to see, okay, this is what we did. This is how we need to get to the ideal state. This is what we need to work on in practice. So to begin, on goal kicks, we need to first focus on positioning. The Bowie field was a little bit weird, and we won't run into this issue as much at the soccer plex because everything is marked neatly. We know where the 6-yard box is. We know where the 18-yard box is. This was, I just think, a poorly managed field and just a little bit confusing. But if we ever run into this situation again, whoever is the keeper can take maybe 8 large steps, 8 to 10, 6 to 10 large steps. We just need to get up to the 6-yard box to then start our goal kicks. Next, we would like our center backs to split wide. We want to be a little bit outside of the 6-yard box. We would like our fullbacks to be ready to receive the ball in this zone. So our fullbacks, you guys can start high, but the minute the ball is played, we have to be ready to receive the ball here. We have to be ready to receive the ball here. If we lose the ball, we're also ready to defend. But if we get the ball on your side and you're way too high up, then there is no passing angle to find you. So we need to be ready to receive the ball here. The last thing is the midfield pairing here. So we build up with 6 guys. And in this case, the goalkeeper, which makes it 7. What we want is our midfield to follow the press. So let's say it's getting played to the right. We want to follow the press and then look to find the ball on either side of this player. Or if the ball isn't played to you, then you want to look to turn towards the player that it's played to so that you can receive a bounce pass. So let's see what that looks like in motion. So let's say player 2 is finding space. This gets kicked here. Player 5 receives it with their back foot, which means that they have an open body position. They can scan the field all the way here. While this ball is kicked, player 2 should immediately check in to somewhere in this space, find their zone of space. Depending on what player 11 does, you need to find your angle. So let's say player 2 comes here. They're wide, but they're finding space. This is an immediate option. If player 11 presses, player 9 presses, player 7 presses, then player 2 needs to go maybe a little bit further down. But what do player 8 and player 6 have to do? They have to follow these players because maybe there's an open gap. You can play this diagonal pass that we like to do when we create our box in open play. Maybe this player is making a curved run. You can play player 8. They don't press very well. That can happen. Or you can play player 2. So if we go back, let's go into our second thing to consider, which is passing options. So let's not consider moving around these pieces yet. The arrows will be just to the players who end up receiving the ball. On a goal kick, I want the first pass to be really good. I saw a couple instances over the weekend where the goalie would play a ball to either of the center backs and it would have a bounce and a bobble to it. I don't really want that. I want a hard, solid, well-weighted pass into the center backs. Another thing that we saw over the weekend was that the center backs were a little bit constricted, which meant that playing into the center defensive mids was a little bit risky because if the ball is cut out anywhere in these zones, then they can have a direct shot on goal. If the center backs are spread wider, it's slightly less risky because these are diagonal passes and we can split their press. Okay, but let's go into passing options. Passing options, if player 5 has the ball, they receive on their back foot, they're looking up the field. I want this to be option 1. I want player 6 to be option 2, like we've been doing, and I want player 8 to be option 3. Now what we could do is play the keeper back, which is option 4. A better option 4 would be going long. So those are the 4 options that I want, and how we find space for each of these options is back in section 1, positioning. Now, the third thing that we are going to go over in goal kicks, and we saw this happen a couple of times when Elon dropped, is going long directly. Instead of trying to do our fancy little build-ups, we can just play it long into space. And so in this case, let's say Alon drops. Our center backs can peel wider. Our fullbacks can go slightly higher because you probably won't get the ball here. If our center backs do get the ball, then we can still find space in this area. Our rectangle just shifts up a little bit. Does that make sense? This is the same length of a pass if our center backs were here and our fullback was here. This is the same pass. We're just shifting our relation over a little bit. So if Alon has the ball, he thinks that he's going to make a long pass, but it's not on. Our center backs can check in, we can get the ball. Our fullback can drop, we can get the ball. We don't always have to go long just because Alon comes back. But let's say Alon does come back. And they have their entire field here. They're playing a 3-2-3. If they're positioned like a 3-2-3, that means our fullbacks will have a lot of space. So this should be a good option to go to. If player 4, for example, is tight, if player 3 is tight, and their center back is on one player or they drop back, that means that either our defensive mid or our 10 can drift into these spaces. So if our fullbacks are staying wide, then we can find these spaces in the middle. These are kind of hard to find, but this is something that we can work on in practice. We did very well going long, but the one thing that I want to mention, just to mitigate any errors in the future, is that we should still maintain a box even if one of our center defensive mids comes down. So if our center defensive mid comes down, I still want one center defensive mid in the middle, creating some sort of a box here. If we go long, we can go long to either the center forwards, either the center attacking mid, the striker, or we can try and find the fullback somehow. But if we lose the ball, we always need a center defensive mid to be able to pounce on and control this space somehow. If they're up here, we end up playing it, we lose the ball, we're way too exposed. And so we need a player here just to create some solidity. Okay, now that we've gone over goal kick buildups, let's go and review open play buildups. Now this is similar, but slightly different. So let's go into positioning to start. For positioning, we want our center backs 8 to 10 yards apart. We want our fullback shuttling back and forth. And I really stress this because we do this in practice. I need to start seeing this more in games. What ends up happening is we either start low and we can find the ball. That's totally fine. If we start high and the defender's here or somewhere here, we need to be able to come back and check for the ball. And I need to see more of that. If the defender comes here and we're not an option, I need us to go up. If the defender doesn't follow us, this has to be a passing option. If the defender follows us, we need to be able to change direction, come back, find a yard or two for this pass to happen. And I need this movement to be in line with the timing of when the center back has an opportunity to play you the pass. So let's say left center back plays the right center back. I need you to shuffle and shuttle back by the time that he gets this ball so that the next second or two, he can play you the ball. Same thing on the left side. I want this distance to not be too wide or too big. That means that if you're all the way up here, this player probably can't play you with one pass. So I want you to be touching the sideline, which is wide, and just finding this little box of space, similar to the goalkeeper buildups. All you're doing is finding space in this little box. In a box maybe that size. This is something we're familiar with. The center defensive mids and the center backs need to create a box, which means that if they're pressing pretty aggressively, they're pressing like this, they're pressing like this, then we can find this box player, these box players somehow. So in this case, it'll be player 8. If player 8 is marked, it'll be player 5, then we find player 8. Or we find player 2. But we should always have one player in this box be an option either for the first pass or the second pass. Okay, the next thing we'll go over is passing options from open play. And this is strictly when we are in our half of the field or in our build-up zone, which is around here. So if we're higher up the field, we don't need these to be our primary passing options, just to be clear. So this is going to be a review for most of you guys. Our first passing option should be the diagonal into the center defensive mid. Our second should be a straight pass into the defensive mid in front of us. And our third pass should be into the fullback. We always know that we have these passing options available to us as well. So to our center back partner, to reset, and then they have these same 3 considerations. To our goalkeeper, if they ask for it, or we can go long into the striker or the attacking mid. And again, in order for these passing options to happen, we have to create space for our teammates. So the fullbacks are constantly shuttling back and forth, and you guys need to be back here. If there's space here, this needs to be an option. We can't just be isolating our defense and asking them to figure it out, because you're part of the back 6 and we build up with 6. The same thing goes for our center defensive mids. If you guys go high, that's wonderful, but that means you're creating space to come into. You need to come into that. That second step needs to continue to happen. Now, once we get more and more advanced, what we can end up doing is we can see, okay, player 3 is coming down, player 6 can kind of come up a little bit, player 3 goes up, player 6 comes down. So we can have opposing movement to then further create time and space for us, because that's going to confuse defenders. And again, we need to time it with when particularly the center backs are getting the ball. If this goes out to the fullback, then we need to, in time, be an option once they get the ball, get a touch. If they look up, you should be an option. This timing is a little bit different depending on which teammate that you're playing with, because some people can just take one touch, look up. Some of us might need to take 1, 2, 3. That's okay. That's why we're in a team. But we just need to find this timing a little bit better. The last thing we'll do is speed of play. So this can all happen, but let's say we find this diagonal pass, this player 6 comes, we do this bounce pass. We need to be able to know where the space is and then play them quickly and accurately with a good pass. What we end up doing most of the times in games is if we do this build-up pattern, we find it in the central areas. What we end up doing is we have players 9 and 10 kind of constrict this middle. Maybe 9 would stay up, pin the field, pin the defense back, but 10 tends to come here. We kind of do these like bounce passes right here, which aren't necessarily bad. One thing to elevate our game would be to, let's say we get it in the central channels. What we can do is mix up long passes and short passes. So we can do a long pass, bounce it into the 10, we dribble up. That's one example. But if we do constant short passes in the same area without reading the opponent's movement, all we're doing is suffocating ourselves. And in the second half last game, what we ended up doing was we found the ball in central channels and we ended up finding people on the wide channels. So this was really great. And this is something that we'll need to continue doing. And this only happens if you guys are thinking quickly. And this is showing up in glimpse. This is something that we'll need to continue practicing. And yeah, but that's just a little glimpse into what we'll be doing in the next couple of weeks. Great job over this weekend, guys. They're probably either the best team in the league or the second best team in the league. They had a wonky field. Nobody knew where the lines were. It was confusing for everybody, but it's their home field, so they're very used to it. I think the refs weren't as good as what we were used to at the Soccerplex, but we have to play by the whistle. Sometimes we get a little bit unlucky. Maybe 2 to 3 of their goals were actually handballs in the box by their players, and we should have gotten a PK in our favor, but we can't let that get to us. There's a lot to learn from this game, a lot of great little glimpses. So yeah, please review the videos that I send over. Watch this video a couple times if you need to, and I'll see you guys in practice.